Coppicing is a very ancient, traditional form of woodland management. Very prevalent in the UK. There's sort of history of coppicing all over the British Isles really for a very long time. The essence of it is that it's cutting trees down to ground level so that they grow back as multi-stemmed plants rather than a big single trunk. This means that they've got a very well-established root system, and it is able to draw on large reserves of energy, nutrients and water in the soil to be able to produce really rapid, prolific regrowth. You'll get thousands and thousands of rods out of an acre of coppice woodland, and that then can be used for a wide variety of different products.
I'm Rebecca Oakes. I chair the Bill Hogarth MBE Memorial Apprenticeship Trust. We formed in 2001 to honour the memory of Bill Hogarth, who was a coppice merchant in this area. He lived at Bowes, and he was the last chap who'd actually learnt from his dad. He taught a lot of us. There was no sort of, trying to keep things to himself. He was very happy to pass on his skills. I think Bill, I'd have to say, was a bit of a mentor for me. So we were all really devastated when he died in '99. It was actually Walter Lloyd at his funeral said, we really need an apprenticeship scheme to keep Bill's skills going. And that's really where the trust started. We, a group of colleagues of Bill's and friends, got together to do it and set up the apprenticeship scheme. It sort of evolved a bit. I mean, we kind of knew we wanted it to be a 3-year apprenticeship because we were training people to be self-employed coppice workers, so not a traditional apprenticeship in the sense that they would then go on to work necessarily with a sponsor, but that they would go on and set up their own business. So we've always been looking for a slightly more mature candidates. This week, Woodland Pioneers is our recruitment week, so we invite people along who are interested, and we'll keep an eye on them and see how they're getting on.
In this area in the South Lakes, there's a very, very strong tradition of coppicing and coppice woodland management, and that's quite closely related to early industrial revolution, and this area was full of mills and factories. It stood the test of time really in terms of a really viable system of woodland management. They found evidence of coppiced wood and coppice materials being used for millennia. There was really a major period of decline in coppicing from the beginning of the 20th century through till sort of after the Second World War, when advances in the petrochemical industry were taking place, and people started being able to make things out of plastic essentially, and that over time replaced a lot of the need for coppice materials. By the 1970s there were very few coppice woodlands that were still being managed. These woodlands that previously had been managed for productive coppice and had been providing lots of ecological benefits were starting to get really neglected, and that was having a negative impact on the wildlife. Luckily there were still a few people around who knew about how to do it and knew about the products. So Bill Hogarth was someone who was really important in the Lake District for continuing that coppice tradition and being able to teach. What we're trying to do is carry on managing woodland as productive coppice, trying to find good markets for it, trying to generate our income and trying to sustain rural livelihoods. The amount of coppice workers that are out there is still extremely small compared to how many there have been in the past, and compared to how much potential coppice woodland there is in this area. There's thousands and thousands of hectares of woodland that would have been coppiced in the past and is maybe now quite sorely neglected. So there's room for lots more coppice workers.
I'm Kath Morgan. I'm the BHMAT coordinator, so I organise the apprentices into, sort them out, and I look after them and sort out their assessments at the end of the years, and I sort out any courses that we run as well. And this week's course, our Woodland Pioneers course, is an Introduction to Coppicing week, and it's for anyone interested in coppicing, but it's also for anyone interested in the apprenticeship scheme, because it's a good introduction to coppicing, and it's a good introduction to us as a trust as well and what we do.
At the beginning, it was always the problem was finding a sponsor business to place apprentices with, because there just weren't that many coppice businesses around. The brilliant thing about it is that now graduate apprentices are the ones doing the teaching and the sponsoring new apprentices. So, we're looking for people who can come up with new ideas of ways of using coppice wood and adding value to the product. They're not necessarily just replicating their sponsor business. We want them to sort of get into new ideas, because a lot of the old coppice trade products are obsolete now. From this area it was all bobbin making, wood for the bobbin mills. We aim to take on 2 a year. It does very much depend on what funding we get. We've got no core funding of any kind. We just have to do fundraising. We do get legacies from people, and we apply to private trusts and things like that. So there's always a job to be done to get the money in.
We have kind of 2 strands of courses really. There are people who have not done Woodland Pioneers before who come and do 4 one-day workshops. So they do treen with Twiggy. Treen are small wooden items like gypsy flowers and mallets and spatulas. Twiggy is a BHMAT graduate. She's done the apprenticeship scheme and she is now a sponsor and a trustee of the trust. They also do riven oak panels with Owen Jones. Owen Jones is an oak swill basket maker, and he's helped out a lot with the trust. So in the team they make an oak swill panel. They do stools, greenwood stools with Lorna Singleton. Lorna again is a graduate of the trust, and she's a basket maker, a fantastic basket maker. She trained a lot with Owen, and she makes now basket bags out of oak swill, which are beautiful, which she's won prizes for. And they do one-day coppicing with Sam Ansell and James Benson. That's off-site in a wood close by. Sam Ansell is also a graduate of the trust.
We're trying to make a variety of different products out of this woodland. So we have stick-based products, which are things like hedging stakes, so those are for people that are laying hedges. And then we've also got beam poles and pea sticks, which are horticultural products really. And we're also making fascines, which are bundles of brash tied together quite tightly into sort of 5-foot lengths. Sort of big cylinders of brash, and those are used by South Cumbria Rivers Trust for their watercourse management. So they'll stake them into riverbeds or into lakes to increase the amount of habitat for fish or to establish new reed beds, that kind of thing. As we're working our way through a woodland cutting coppice, the biodiversity benefits are enormous. As soon as you open up the woodland to light, so it really creates an incredibly vibrant habitat. What we'll also have is a variety of different stages of regrowth. There'll be a wide variety of different structures and light conditions all throughout the wood, and that'll be a shifting mosaic, and different plants and animal species can sort of take advantage of those different structures. Certainly the processing element is very much a hand tool job. It's very difficult to do without a bill hook. Nice sharp edge tool with a little hook, and that's how we're doing most of our processing. So cutting through the rods and trimming off the side branches. So that's a process that's called dressing out. So that's turning a long rod with lots of side branches into a nice clean stick, and then we're deciding what length to cut it and what sort of product it'll be. And then we've also been using bow saws and hand saws to do some of the felling. One of the main reasons that coppicing evolved as a woodland management system is that it's all very sort of human scale operation really. So most of the rods that we're cutting through are going to be, you know, not much thicker than this, and that's really easy to get through with a bill hook or with a bow saw or with an axe, or, you know, before people had access to chainsaws. You know, they needed to do things in the most efficient way possible, and, you know, being able to grow your wood to a size that's really easy to harvest and really easy to handle and move around the woods, just bundling it up and sticking it on your shoulder and, you know, walking it to the edge of the woods was really important back then. So, it's really nice sort of, human scale activity really, and it's very pleasurable to be out in the woods working with hand tools, you know, listening to the birds in the sunshine.
We also run courses for people who've done those 4 days, and for our own apprentices and anyone else who just wants to come along. So this year we have a group of people making coracles with James Mitchell, who actually was the first ever graduate of BHMAP. He went through the apprenticeship scheme. And we have Jeff Whitley, who is a carver. He used to be BHMAP chair. He's teaching carving to a group. And also we've got a group doing hazel baskets with Ruth Pybus. So those are people those for our bands who already know a little bit about woods and want to come back to the week. Some people come on this course and they know nothing about coppicing at all. Other people know a little bit. So I suppose this course really teaches you what coppicing is and not all, but some of the crafts that are related to it. It's good for us to be introduced and to get to know people who potentially want to do the apprenticeship scheme.
You know, many of the Coppice groups have sort of got quite a sort of older age profile, but, you know, we seem to be getting younger and younger, you know, because the young people are coming in and taking a part in all aspects of promoting the industry. We've had fantastic weather, and as ever it's a really enthusiastic bunch of people. You know, it's just great to see everyone. They develop through the week because they're doing the 4 one-day courses, so the first day everyone's a bit quiet and maybe a bit nervous, but you know, by Thursday they're really in their stride and enjoying doing stuff with the wood.
If you come to the week, you can camp in the woods for the week, so we have people camping all over the woods. Some people stay in vans at the car park. We've got Lynn, who's our fantastic chef, who cooks for us, and she has a little band of helpers in the kitchen. We have a tea tent in the woods that people enjoy. Someone who bakes us wonderful cakes. And we have things going on every night. It's wonderful to come in the woods and to just be with a group of people. We've got about 64, 65 people on site. There's 59 people doing actual workshops. So it's just really nice to be together with people who are like-minded and love the woods and want to, you know, get inspired by other people or network with people who do the same sorts of things.